Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James, joined once again by my co-host, Cody, all the way from Texas. How are you doing today, Cody?
Oh, James, I'm doing fantastic. You want to know why I'm doing fantastic, James? It's because
Yes.
Texas
Yes,
finally is starting to feel like home.
Is it?
It's cold. It's we have a cold front coming through. It's not even that cold. It's funny.
Oh, man.
But
What
it's
in the 50s?
no, I think it's actually a little bit colder than that. I'll look it up real quick just because I'm actually curious. But it's a little chilly. It's 30 degrees right now.
Oh, that's cold for you guys.
Yeah, they got a freeze thing going on. I have to run some water all night to make sure nothing goes bad. It's just not the same. Like, I don't know if buildings aren't built the same down here or what.
They're
But
not insulated the same.
it's wild.
Yeah.
So stuff's going on with work in preparation for that. Had to deal with that today. So just a lot of fun stuff. But we're here to talk about football, James. How are you though? Before we get too far.
I'm doing good, man. The games this last weekend went the way I was hoping they would. We're going to give you our entire opinions on that ending the show, but we're going to talk a lot of Steelers talk first because there's a lot going on, man, which is exciting.
Yep, and James and I towards the end of the show are going to go over the main meat of this episode is going to be talking about the top 5 free agents that we think Pittsburgh should go after outside of our own free agents, to clarify, outside of people who are free agents on our team. So real quick, James, we got to start off with the most important news. It's "Hi, honey, I love you."
That's it. My wife found my notes again and wrote on here that she loves me, and I kiss out of nowhere and said I love you too.
Yeah.
So not that she listens anymore because she doesn't, but appreciate it, babe.
All right, go ahead and let's start off with who Pittsburgh signed this past week.
That's right, man. This was a frustrating thing when it went the other way around. But here he is, Quincy Roche, former 6th-round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers, back in black and gold. We signed him to a futures deal, which is fantastic. Now we get a chance to actually develop the young man, which we didn't get a chance to previously.
Nope.
Because we tried to sneak him from the 53-man. Well, they cut him on that final roster cut down, and they were attempting to put him to the practice squad, and he got poached away by the Giants. So we never got a chance to really develop him. Well, now he's back, and there is that glaring hole really at the backup outside linebacker position.
Yep.
So this is fantastic. This is somebody that they felt highly enough about to draft. The Giants have already moved on from him. I really don't care about that because the Steelers and Giants have differing opinions on linebackers, hence us grabbing Tay Crowder off of their practice squad. After he started like 30 games for them in 2 years.
Yeah, fun fact about Tay Crowder. He was actually Mr. Irrelevant.
Was he really?
Yep. I think
Nice.
20, I don't know how many years ago, but he was also
Probably
Mr.
2020, wasn't he?
I believe it was
2020, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he's got 3 years in the league now. So, yeah, I'm excited about Quincy Roche. I think it doesn't necessarily take outside linebacker off the board for a possible upgrade as far as the draft. I mean, if you can get somebody in the 3rd or 4th round that fits what you're looking for a little bit better, hey, of course you do it. But it brings more competition, more high-level competition into the room. So, very excited about him coming back and Pittsburgh getting a chance at one of their own draft picks once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Rooney had a interview or a press conference, I should call it, not an interview, I shouldn't say.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 different interviews, and they kind of combined it all into
one. But he talked about a lot of things. One thing was he was very happy with how Mitch Trubisky played this year, and he does expect Mitch to be back next year and be the backup quarterback. And he said that we can win games with him, which was important to kind of hear that confidence in your backup quarterback. And I believe, did he not even compare him to Charlie Batch a little bit, which was wild.
It's possible he might have.
I think I heard that. So
yeah, I didn't hear the whole thing. I just heard that wasn't. Dan Rooney, when he does these end of the year press conferences, interviews, whatever, there's usually some takeaway messages. Like last year, it was fix the run game. So in the year before as well, so they went out and they got a running back. They spent a bunch of money in free agency on some offensive linemen to get some upgrades there. This year, if the owner says, "Hey, I want the backup quarterback back," that kind of takes it off the table of cutting him.
Yeah.
Which I kind of figured Pittsburgh would cut him because it would have saved like $8 million in cap space, and they're going to be up against it. So that's pretty much off the table now. The real question is, does Mitch want to come back? Because he's obviously not going to get a chance to be the starter there.
Yeah, but I don't, and quite frankly, I don't think there's other places that he's going to have that opportunity. I
Neither
truly
do I.
don't. So I
Yeah.
think there's a good chance that he comes back. And I'm
Might
excited
as
for
well.
that.
8 million is a lot of money to be a backup.
It's a lot of money. I'd take 8 million to be anything. Let's be real. We're not going to go any deeper into that conversation, but Rooney also expects a game to be had in Mexico soon. I think the NFL has honestly been talking about expanding and having European teams.
Yeah,
So
seems like Germany's the target there.
Germany is definitely
Uh,
the target. Very interesting.
yeah, in Germany, the culture in Germany, they really American culture. So I could see it being successful, but I'm kind of not on board with doing a team over in Germany because just the logistics are awful for
They're
anybody
talking
trying to
about doing a
travel there and back.
division. They're talking about doing a division in
Yeah,
Germany.
an entire division that would be difficult as well.
Very difficult. So
Yeah,
the video that I saw that would explain this would be it would still be two conferences, but there would be three divisions in each conference. I'll have to try and find that video and maybe tag it in the comments of this or whatever, because I
yeah.
saw a video that broke it down. Two conferences, three divisions each. I believe it was like 6 teams. I don't remember, or 5 teams maybe. I'll have to go look at it and find that again. But very interesting, and potentially having a team in Mexico maybe in the future. The NFL's trying
The
to extend
Mexico,
it.
yeah, the Mexico thing makes a lot more sense to me just because,
You're
I
not
mean,
flying
just like
over
say, for example, the National Hockey League, they got like 3 or 4 teams in Canada. It makes sense. There's a
Toronto
strong following
Raptors.
up there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Toronto Raptors in the NBA. Yeah, like this is a common thing, even in Major League Baseball, but that's not National Major League Baseball. It's
Yep.
yeah, but still, you get the idea. And there is a strong following for the Steelers in Mexico, so it does make sense for their international games to be played in Mexico if you want top level results as far as viewership and attendance in the game.
Yeah.
So I will not be surprised also because it's kind of like there's a requirement for teams to do an international game, and you're not volunteering, you're being voluntold. Here's when yours is going to be. It just makes sense in a league that is so heavy about making money. You might as well put Pittsburgh in that game, and I'm hearing rumors that the Cowboys make sense as an opponent.
They definitely
Which
do. Somebody who's now
yeah,
right next to Mexico,
yeah,
uh, that would be a very popular game in that area,
yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure. And then the last thing you
Mhm.
said is Pittsburgh has to get better in the red zone. I
Yep,
didn't hear
which
any.
we can only agree, right?
You
We can
don't
only agree.
say.
I mean, that was one of the things that we talked about in last week's show when we were talking about the difference from the first half of the season to the
Yep.
second half of the season. A lot more successful drives as far as finishing with a score in the second half of the season. Now you just want to see the next logical step of progression of finishing more of those drives with touchdowns instead of field goals.
Yep.
And I think they're headed in the right direction on that. So I'm optimistic that Pittsburgh can kind of do the same thing that they did last year during the season, adding 5 points per game. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect them to be able to get up into that 25, 26 points per game average
Yeah.
next season, which, if they were to do that, would put them in one of the top scoring teams in the league. I want to say that this weekend, in one of the games, they said that the Chiefs averaged like 29 points a game this last season,
Yep.
and that was number one scoring in the entire NFL.
Yep.
So it's not like teams are out there averaging 30 points a game. That's not a thing.
Nope.
But if you're in the mid 20s, you're one of the top scoring teams in the NFL.
Yep.
So yeah, even if you look at it and say, hey, if Chris Boswell wouldn't have missed 8 kicks, that would have probably knocked it up another point per game average. So
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what happens with that. We have some Pro Bowl news, James.
yeah. So we have an opt out. TJ Watt has decided to not participate due to still having some nagging injuries he's trying to recover 100% from, which makes sense because it still goes down as him being nominated for one. He still gets
Yep.
credit for going to one, even though he does not participate in it. And there's not an actual normal game anyway. But it turns out that the alternate next in line was Matt Milano, which all I have to say to that is WTF, man. Like, really? Really, a middle linebacker, an off-ball linebacker, is the first alternate to an outside linebacker pass rusher? I'm so irritated. This should have been Alex Highsmith. He should have got his first Pro Bowl because of
Or
this,
somebody
and he didn't.
else, at least
Just somebody that rushes the passer,
in the
maybe.
position. That's what
Like
matters.
that's the frustrating part to me is because like the way the Pro Bowl voting is, there's more teams that are 4-3 teams than there are 3-4 teams.
Oh,
And it
100%.
seems like the players that are in the 3-4 defenses have a distinct disadvantage
Yep.
because your off-ball linebackers, like in a 4-3, all of them are off-ball linebackers. They're all going to get like 100 plus tackles pretty easy. So we're just going to vote a bunch of off-ball linebackers in and never any pass rushers?
Might as
Because I
well at this point.
guarantee you that 14 and a half sacks and 5 forced fumbles that Alex Highsmith had is a much better resume than what Matt Milano put together this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So really weird by that, but again, at least TJ Watt does still get his Pro Bowl, but unfortunately Alex Highsmith was robbed from potentially his first. Or what would have been his first.
There is potential also here with the Chiefs being one of the teams advancing to the Super Bowl. That means Chris Jones will not be going to the Pro Bowl. We're still speculating at this point. We haven't heard anything official on who's going to be replacing him, but Cam Hayward was a replacement, like whatever, a runner-up kind of guy for the defensive line for the Pro Bowl. So there's a possibility there that Cam will end up going to the Pro Bowl after all as an alternate to Chris Jones. So cross your fingers. Hopefully we'll find that out, I'm sure, within the next couple of days here, and we'll tell you about it on the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And James, let's go ahead and let's talk about the playoff games. We're not going to talk about them very long. It's going to be pretty short, and then we'll get into our free agents. Cincinnati lost. That's great for us because they're a division rival. We don't necessarily want them to do well. I'm upset that we're seeing Patrick Mahomes in his third Super Bowl already. I don't want another Tom Brady. I looked at the numbers and the lineup in the last 10 years. The last 5 years, Patrick Mahomes has been in the championship game, and the 5 years prior, Tom Brady was in all those championship games. So I'm just over it. I don't want it to happen again. I like seeing new people go and have the opportunity, especially if Pittsburgh's not in. It's fun to see different teams get involved. So I am rooting heavily for Philadelphia in this game. And obviously Philadelphia won their game. But I don't know if you have anything you want to say about the AFC game. Oh, you have a lot you want to say, a little bit at least.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a little differing from you on the thing because I feel like the thing that irritated me about Brady is how many times he and the Patriots got caught cheating and then still were allowed to retain their championship trophies. That to me was just the cardinal sin there, and that's the reason that I didn't like Brady throughout his career.
That's fair.
Because it was so smug. He was like, I don't care. I'm going to cheat every time I get a chance because no one's going to do anything about it.
Yep.
The punishments were never even really against him. They were against the team, against the ownership. Like
even against Belichick.
Been suspended. Yeah, even against Belichick. I don't know how Brady didn't get suspensions for some of the stuff he did, but somehow he was able to wash his hands of it every time and have just enough plausible deniability. But to me, it was a real big difference in this game. The Chiefs got after Cincinnati right out of the gate. They showed that they had a much better pass rush than what Buffalo had and were much more stout against the run. The backup offensive linemen that played in the game against the Bills were the same exact ones that played against the Chiefs. The difference is they were not effective because the Chiefs players played so much better on that defensive front. I mean, they had 4 sacks by the end of the first quarter, and it was pretty obvious that offensive line was drastically overmatched. Put Joe Burrow in a situation where he was making uncharacteristic mistakes. I'm not here to say that I think Joe Burrow is the next coming of Joe Montana or anything, but dang it, the kid looks really good so far in his career. This was not his best game. He was intercepted twice easily, could have been intercepted 4 times, had one called back on a pass interference, which was legitimate. The defender did hit the receiver early, but there was another play earlier in the game where a defender dang near intercepted the ball and it just barely got out of his fingertips. As far as Joe Burrow's performance, not his best game.
No,
even a couple of those touchdown passes were just YOLO balls that the wide receiver
Higgins went up and got.
Plays. Yep. Yeah, just great plays by the wide receivers on balls that were. I mean, he throws it up there and gives his receiver a chance to go make the play. But that does give defenders a chance to make the play as well.
Yep. And then the other game, 49ers at Philly, that game was wild. I did see a video of Nick Bosa being there to support Joey,
Oh no, yeah, Joey.
whatever brother was there, and fans.
Yeah, he was getting taunted real bad.
Those Philly fans are savage, to say the least.
They're brutal.
They are.
They heckled the living bejesus
and
out
I'll
of
say
them.
this. I'll say this. It sounds like playful. I think Philly fans, at least those ones and stuff, they got no respect for anybody. I mean, even
No, they got no fear.
I
They
want
don't
it to
care
be.
about
I want it to be
anything.
made aware that I'm not like, haha, they heckled him. No, they were being immensely rude. And quite frank, I don't know, it was a mess. But anyways, Philadelphia is the real deal by a long shot.
What an incredible defense, huh?
Crazy defense. And unfortunately, they did, San Fran did lose their starting quarterback in Brock Purdy, who was technically their third or fourth string quarterback, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
And very unfortunate to see how it happened.
And then Joe Johnson, the fourth string quarterback, got a concussion and he was out of the game.
Yep. So Christian McCaffrey.
No quarterbacks. Yeah. Yeah, they went wildcat with McCaffrey, and that obviously is not going to work against a defensive front like what the Eagles have with just Pro Bowler after Pro Bowler, first round pick after first round pick. It's a very, very stout defense.
And just some young studs that got away from other good teams, It's just how that works for Philly. So we'll get to that later.
Yeah, sometimes it's a third round pick that you wish you could have been able to re-sign, but you're up against it in the cap, and it wasn't possible.
Yep, but he's a free agent again. So let's go ahead and talk about these free agents that we want to go after, James.
Speaking of free agents that we want to come to Pittsburgh,
do you want to do 1 and 1 or all your 5, all my 5?
Yes, I want to do 1 and 1, and I want to get
the defensive lineman out of the way first, because we both have 2 defensive linemen. We discussed positions. We don't know who we have. We definitely know who one person we have.
Yeah, and I think at this stage, most of you listening also know exactly where we're going with this first one. Javon Hargrave, former third-round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers, currently a Pro Bowl defensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles. His contract is up.
Yep.
He could become a free agent. Now, this is the asterisk on this whole list for both of us. As of right now, all the guys that we're going to tell you about are scheduled to be free agents. That doesn't mean that they won't get contract extensions from their current teams.
Correct.
So it could be that none of these guys end up available, or only some of them become available.
Or that Pittsburgh doesn't even go after them. These are guys that we think it would be fun to have on our team, or we would love Pittsburgh to get. That's all.
We would think they'd be good fits, or we love the talent, or that kind of thing.
Yep.
So Javon Hargrave topped my list out right away. Would love to have him back. There's a big need at the nose tackle position for Pittsburgh. Also in the nickel defensive tackle position, where we need a second guy that can rush the passer at a level at least somewhat close to what Cameron Hayward can do it.
Yep.
Even if you got a guy that can get you 7 or 8 sacks a year again.
Or 11.
Get you in the right direction. But 11 like Tua did the one time. How many did Hargrave have this year?
11.
10.
He had 11.
He had 11, yeah. So, I mean, that's exactly what you want. You can put him next to Cam Hayward and consider your front 4 the best in the entire NFL.
Oh, easily.
Highsmith, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and then plug Hargrave there. The money is going to be the issue there, but I think that Pittsburgh can clear some cap space. That would be my number 1 target if I'm Pittsburgh on outside free agents. And Cody, I think you're agreeing.
I agree with number 1
as well.
I agree. Yeah. I do have him as well. I do. I didn't order them. I just kind of did them. But if I did order them, I would probably have Javon Hargrave as number 1 on this list. I'm not going to go in order after that necessarily, but that was my 1. James, do you want me to do my other defensive lineman just to see?
Let's get those guys out of the way.
So this guy is a former first-round draft pick. He went 19th overall. And he's been on the same team, or he's been actually in the same division his entire career, which is he's been on 3 different teams in the same division. So he was drafted by Buffalo back in 2016, and he played with Buffalo for 4 years, went to Miami, then went to the Jets for a year, and now he had a 1-year deal with Buffalo again, and obviously they're out of the playoffs now. Shaq Lawson is my other defensive lineman, defensive end specifically. Not a guy that's going to put up double-digit sacks more than likely, but going to be consistent, going to apply pressure, going to be fairly stout against the run and holding runs from getting too far outside. So Shaq Lawson is another guy. Again, he's 28 and almost going to be 29 before the season starts. So a little bit on the older side, but again, we're going to lose, Alualu, we're probably losing to it. All these guys are going to be getting older and aging out. Not that he's not drastically younger, but Shaq Lawson gives us some flexibility there, and I like what I see out of his gameplay.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he more of a 4-3 end? So he'd
He
probably be a 3-4 outside linebacker
he
for
is,
Pittsburgh.
but I think I think he could kind of make that transition to play end for us. I don't think he might have to either put on weight or this or
Yeah.
that. But I like him being even if he came in and they wanted to use him as an outside linebacker, I'd be down for that as
Mhm.
well. Shaq Lawson's a great player, and
Yeah, good
I think he
getting
could
after the
provide
passer,
that.
no doubt.
Yes, he could provide the pass rush
Mhm.
from the outside linebacker position. A little bit bigger than I think we normally go with outside linebacker, but
Yeah.
he's kind of
Yeah,
in
more
that
the
in
Bud Dupree
between.
mold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that 270 kinda
Hmm.
mold. All right, now my number 2 guy, and again, I don't really necessarily in order other
Yep.
also, but yeah, Javon Hargrave would have definitely topped my list if there
Yep.
were an order to it. Number 2 in the defensive line, I actually have a lesser known guy who really popped at me this weekend, and when I saw him on the free agent list, I said, "Yeah, that's the kind of guy Pittsburgh could really use." Derek Nandi of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh.
Derek is as thick as it gets in his legs, his midsection, his upper body. He is a very stout individual against the run and has some good mobility to him as well. So this is somebody that you could plug in there at the nose tackle position. Could give you a little bit of juice as a pass rusher as well. But one of the biggest opportunities Pittsburgh had was against the run. They weren't real great against the run. They need to get some guys with some size and some ability to anchor against the run. And I think Derek Nandi would be a plug and play nose tackle day one for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't expect Nandi to go back to Kansas City. He has progressively lost percentage of snaps since 2019, his second year.
Mm-hmm.
He was at 53% snaps, 45, 40, and then this year only 32% of their snaps played.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which kind of shows you that he's probably a little more of a run stopper because you're not using him on the pass rushing downs as much,
yep.
which is fine because Pittsburgh needs a guy that can specialize in stopping the run because we just don't have one right now.
Very true.
And if he's getting that little bit of usage, you might be able to get him at a lesser dollar amount as well.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and talk about my middle linebacker that I want us to get. This guy has 5
Is
years.
it your favorite safeties, brother?
No, it's not my favorite safeties brother at all. Former first round pick in 2018. The guy has been in the league for 5 years and is not even 25 years of age right now. Tremaine
I'm just gonna write
Edmonds.
it down.
Tremaine Edmonds. You know who it is.
Yep.
Not necessarily a massive stat stuffer, but he plays the position well and doesn't always get beat the way that some of our middle linebackers get beat in the passing game, and especially sometimes getting run over in the run game. He's a bigger guy. He's bigger than I think all of our middle linebackers on the team currently. By far.
Isn't he like 6'4" or 6'5" or something? He's
I don't know
big,
exactly. He is very large. Has
He's a tall dude,
five interceptions
go
on
ahead,
his
I'm sorry.
career, 2 forced fumbles. And he occasionally gets sacks. He's been in the league 5 years. He has 7 sacks on his career. Not that that's my smallest concern. We rarely ever blitz our middle linebackers on passing downs. But if you can apply some pressure there as well, that's great to have. But he would cause havoc in those passes over the middle to the tight end or the slants because he's just that big. And again, this is if Pittsburgh's going to keep Terrell Edmonds on the team, why not get another brother squad on there?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Trey's career's over. So yeah, I think that would be an excellent addition. It would be the big, tall, highly athletic off-ball linebacker that I think Pittsburgh desperately needs to add. You can get guys that are 6 foot and 6'1" and 5'11" and thumpers and that's great. But I think part of the biggest problem that Pittsburgh has been against covering tight ends. Or that's just been an issue. You need taller, highly athletic middle linebackers to take away some of those passing lanes. And Tremaine Edmonds would absolutely do that. So he'd be a real nice addition.
Yeah, or potential strong safeties. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. My number 3 is a name that will be familiar to a lot of people. A wide receiver. You might remember him as a USC wide
Oh, I
receiver.
know where we're
Uh,
going now.
well, one Mr. Juju Smith-Schuster. I would love to bring him back into the one of the issues with the wide receiver core last year was getting yards after contact. And Juju always goes forward after he catches the ball. Extremely reliable hands, excellent blocker, always giving effort, always trying on every single play, and a good lead by example kind of guy on the field. And still young, just like you were talking about with Tremaine Edmonds. He
Yep.
came into the league, I think he was only like 19 or 20 years old.
Yep.
So Juju's probably only like 25 or something right
He's
now.
26 right now, but he's been in the league
There you
6
go.
years. So
Yeah, so plenty of good football still in front of him. And with the uncertainty of Deontay Johnson and Deontay going into the last year of that extension, you need to do something. And a good, well-rounded wide receiver like that as your number 3 would be fantastic. You got somebody that can help move the chains.
yep.
So I would love to see Juju back in the black and gold.
I would say that I would also enjoy seeing Juju back or James Washington, two guys that are not on my list, but either one of them I would take back, quite frankly, over Deontay Johnson. The next guy on my list is going to be a guy by the name of, I'm not going to even say it yet. Drafted by New Orleans I want to see if you know, drafted by New Orleans in 2016 in the second round, 61st overall, went to Ohio State, plays currently for a divisional rival, and will no longer be playing again after this weekend. 7 years in the league, 28 years of age, Von Bell. Would love to have a strong safety of Von Bell's stature and just ability, quite frankly. Von Bell, to me, is all the things that Terrell Edmonds was supposed to be. Big hitter, good against the pass, good against the run. You're not going to see any crazy stats as far as like tackles for loss or anything like that from him, but he had 2 forced fumbles and 4 interceptions this year. Terrell Edmonds, I think
that's like 3 or 4 years worth of work for Terrell Edmonds.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, granted, it is for him too. I'll tell you right now, he's never had more than 1 interception in a season until this year, and he's only at 6 for his career. So, I mean, most of his interceptions happened this year. But again, at 28 years of age to be able to do that, I would take that over what we've been getting out of Terrell Edmonds any day of the week. But again, this is assuming Pittsburgh doesn't bring Terrell Edmonds back. That's the only way that this would even remotely get close to happening. But Von Bell would be fun to see him go from division rival to division rival, and get him on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the black and gold. So that's my strong safety. James, do you want me to do my last one? Because you have one more too, right?
I got 2 left still.
Oh, then go ahead and do your other one.
Yeah. So my number 4 guy is me looking at the future here and saying I possibility that the Steelers are not going to be able to retain Zach Gentry. If they do retain Zach Gentry, this becomes kind of a moot point. But if they're not able to, then you're looking for a number 2 tight end who's a good blocker, reliable, good hands.
I think I know who it is. I know who it is.
System.
I know. I can't believe I didn't know it already. I know who it
is. Might be 81 in your programs, but he's number 1. I would love to see a reunion of Jesse James in the black and gold. Again, assuming the departure of Zach Gentry. You don't even have to worry about it. Number 81 stays in the same exact position. From Gentry back to James where it belongs. And I like Zach Gentry, don't get me wrong. But Jesse James is not all that old either.
No, he's not. He's 28 and 247 days, I think, right now.
What?
I'm probably dead accurate with my numbers. But I will say this. I completely forgot about Jesse James, and that's not who I thought you were going to say.
Who'd you think I was going to say?
Mike Gesicki, another Penn State boy.
Oh, no. He can't block to save his life.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And Mike Gesicki, I'd bring him in receiver and just, don't even bother lining him up at tight end.
Yeah. So fair enough. There's Jesse James. All right. Do your last guy real quick, and then I'll do my last one.
All right. My last one is a quarterback. And again, this is with me looking at it and saying there's a glaring hole in the backup quarterback position, especially if something happens and Mitchell Trubisky says, hey, I want out of here. Even if he is retained, you probably want a third string quarterback with some experience. Maybe a real smart guy. Maybe a
Yep,
guy
there
that's
it
a
is.
rocket scientist.
There it is.
One Joshua Dobbs. I've talked about it before. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I would love to see Josh Dobbs back in the black and gold. I think he'd be the best number 2 quarterback. I think he'd even be a better option than Trubisky because he's a smarter dude. He understands defensive schemes better than Trubisky does and sees the field better. Um, so I would love to have him as like pseudo quarterbacks coach / backup quarterback, even if he is just the number 3 on the team. I would love to have him back in the black and gold, and I would feel very good about the position having him to back up Kenny Pickett and help with the development of Kenny Pickett. Ben Roethlisberger was very open about how much he loved Josh Dobbs, and he would always tell people after a game, "Oh, that one play that went for a touchdown, yeah, that was something that Josh saw, and Josh called that play, and we ran it and it went for a touchdown." Like that was a common thing when Dobbs was backing up Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only hope to have backup quarterbacks with that kind of football IQ, and honestly, real dangerous as far as a scrambler as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that because Josh Dobbs wasn't even on my list as
Yeah,
available
it wasn't on
players.
mine either, but I know he's a free agent. So
Yeah, so that's weird.
yeah,
All right, my last one is another guy on the defensive side of the ball. This player has been in the league for 5 years. He was a undrafted player back in 2018. Only played in 1 game in his rookie year, and then all 16 his second year, 12 his third, 11, and then only 5 this past year. And I can't remember if I'm assuming that was due to injury, but I honestly can't remember. One guy by
sounds
the
like it.
name of Emmanuel Mosley, or
Okay,
Mosley. Excuse me, Mosley. Why did I say Mosley? Mosley. Emmanuel
not
Mosley.
sure.
49ers cornerback, has 1 interception every single year, minus his rookie year, where again he only played 1 game. This is a guy that could come in and give us some depth to the cornerback room that we're struggling with right now. Again, you're not going to see, in my opinion, crazy numbers out of him, but you'll see consistency for him to go. He's lost games over the years, but I think he'd come in and be a good, solid backup in case we deal with an injury. Also, depending on what happens in our cornerback room as it is right now, because we don't know who's staying and who's going. So
Yeah,
we'll
that's
have
a real
to
big question mark right now.
wait and see for that one for sure. But those are my 5 guys, and then James, those are your 5 guys. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a fun exercise, Cody.
It
I'm
was
glad you
very
came up
fun.
with that idea.
Very fun. And if you guys listen to this and you guys want to know, or if you guys want to share with us who your top 5 would be, or even your top 1, if there's someone you're like, Pittsburgh needs to go out and get him, comment on the video on YouTube or let us know in the comments on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you see this post come up, or even if it's on Podbean, let us know. We'd love to share that with the audience next week on the show. So again, we can't thank you guys enough for listening. Before we go, James, we got to talk about the Shriner and the All-Star.
The East-West Shrine
East-West
Bowl
Shrine game.
and the Senior Bowl. Both of these coming up this week here. Thursday is going to be the East-West Shrine Bowl, featuring a lot of guys that are typically 4th round and later prospects. I'm hearing really good things about Juice Scruggs already. That's the Penn State center. Just dominating. They're saying he's the best offensive lineman on his team. I think he's on the West squad there. So lots of fun reports going on of people and how they're looking. The Senior Bowl will be on Saturday. That's usually your higher end prospects. So a lot of fun stuff. We're going to watch those games. We're going to get your reports on guys that we think had good games for our upcoming show on Monday, since that will be the one after where that bye week is. In between this week and the Super Bowl, there's 1 week off. Typically where the Pro Bowl is as well. I don't know how much of that I'm going to watch. But
I don't even know what it's going to be like
doing
this year.
skills competitions and stuff this year. I think they're doing 40-yard dash competition and fun stuff like that. So
Yeah, let's just pull a hammy at the Pro Bowl. With that being said, again, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. Also, for any of you guys that are into video games, I did just start making a YouTube collaboration kind of thing with Matt, like Madden playing games. I'm using the Steelers. If you want to see how this year could have played out differently for us, go check that out. That'll be linked in the description as well. So again, this is James and Cody signing off.
peace.